What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of 27 and Q. With that, man, he's getting ready like to hibernate. He's got the Giants hat on, everything. Number 27, good humanities, an all-time great running back.
You know it, baby. I like that dig. I like it. I like it.
Two-time Super Bowl champ, Brandon Jacobs, number 27. I'm Rich Quinones. Don't forget, follow us on our YouTube channel, 27 and Q. A lot of views, subscribers picking up. We appreciate all the love and the feedback and the comments and the likes and the just a dialogue back and forth with you guys. It's been really fun. A lot of stuff to get into. Another big game coming up for the Giants Sunday night, where primetime games, they've just sucked over the last 11. They're 0-11. By the way, B, how you doing? First of all, how you feeling? A little better? You know, a little bit, a little tea, a little. Yeah,
I'm doing a little bit better, Rich. You know, throat's a little scratchy.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've been through much harder shit in my life than what's going on now, man. So I'm good.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Was it rough on Mondays getting up?
No, it wasn't too bad on Mondays getting up. Got up, you know, you might have crackled a little bit. Your heels might have hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, get up, use the bathroom. You know, once you take a leak, you're good to go.
Yeah. Did you ever play sick?
Oh yeah, I played sick about 2 or 3 times.
Did you?
Sniffling all over myself, snotting in the nose, and you know, hitting it. You know, when you make contact when you sick.
Boom.
That deep grunt like that brings the mucus up, and you gotta go right back down, man. Right back down, man. Give it to me again, coach. Where we at?
That's probably why guys learn the hard way. If they try to tack you high, it's over. If they go low, you're gonna run over them, right?
Yeah. So it was no winning for him, man.
Yeah. So a couple things. We talked yesterday about what the Giants potentially will do in the offseason. I think Sunday night, this is going to be that referendum game. And I think it's going to be on Daniel Jones. I think he's going to have to go out and he's going to have to just make plays, right? I mean, look, you've been in these spots, right? Young quarterback. I mean, you go back Eli's first couple of years, and I think it was even before the year before you were drafted when the Giants went 11-5 and won the NFC East.
Mm-hmm.
Then they lost to Carolina in the playoffs. Then they came back 2006, wild card, went on the road against Philadelphia. That was Tiki's last year. And then obviously it culminates with the Super Bowl run in 2007. I get the sense that his teammates will rally around him. And I think he's a likable guy and they want to play hard for him. But as you mentioned yesterday, right, quarterbacks just don't grow on trees. Like, it takes time for some of these quarterbacks to kind of, you know, I guess understand the position.
Yeah, it takes some time, man. And it's crazy. Guys like Eli Manning was thrown in the fire right out the gate.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it's funny you bring that stuff up about Daniel Jones because, I mean, let's go through, you know, the first 6 Giants starting quarterbacks, the first, you know, through the first 50 games, right? Daniel Jones is leading he's leading for the last 6 Giants quarterback through 50 games. He's leading. So let's say, you know, he has 1,630 attempts with 1,040 complete. That's 63% with 10,915 yards, right? And then next is Eli Manning with 1,638 with 904 completed at a 55.2 percentage with 10,359 yards, and it goes down. Kerry Collins at 1,775 yards. I mean, 1,775 attempts with 1,041 completed at 58%, right? Let's go with TDs again. You got Daniel Jones at 57, Eli Manning with 70, but Eli had 59 interceptions and Daniel Jones has thrown 33 at 86%.
Yeah, crazy.
19 and 30 records. So, I mean, we talking about guys, you know, Phil Simms is on the list. He's all the way there. You know, he's down at the bottom with 1,400 attempts with 777 completions at 51% with 10,000 yards as well. They got Dave Brown on the list with
Quarterback.
1,300
Yep.
attempts. With 1,300 attempts with 726 at 55%. With 8,000 yards and 400 with 8,400 yards of receiving. So
Yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if through first 50 starts, is Daniel Jones really behind, or do our team stink that bad that we need somebody to blame it on?
Okay, so a couple things with that. Eli's an aberration because he goes on and he wins 2 Super Bowls and he's MVP twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kerry Collins was a veteran at that time, and he had a nice run. They got to the Super Bowl 1 year with him. Dave Brown sucked. He was a bad quarterback. He was a head case, and coincidentally enough, he was from Duke, supplementary draft pick. Sims is interesting because Sims was hurt early on in his career, and for those that know that story, benched several times, a bunch of injuries. Sims by 84, and he was drafted in 79. By 84, he came into his own, over 4,000 yards passing. I guess my point is, I would say Sims, Eli, maybe kind of set Kerry Collins and Dave Brown to the side. It takes time. Like I think we're so accustomed to guys coming in and playing right away and playing at such a high level. Like when I debate people, and I posted this on Facebook, I mean, it's just crazy what some of these fans, they think when it comes to like this quarterback right now. You get a lot of he's good, not great, turns the ball over, doesn't make wide receivers better. Okay, I counter that where they don't have talent, they're void of talent, and his legs have actually contributed to them winning some games. Those quarterbacks you mentioned, hey man, out of all of them, probably Sims was a scrambler at times. Daniel Jones is athletic. He's an athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he scrambles. He's a guy that might rush for 600, 700, 800 yards in a season as a quarterback. There's a handful of QBs that can do that now. So when I say, well, who do you want? What do you want? What's your perfect quarterback?
Like that's my question I asked, because everybody know how I feel about 10, right? Everybody and their mom know that 10 is my guy. I love Eli. He's a brother to me, so I just wanted to bring that up. I mean, not try to beat down some of the guys that's on the list.
Of course not.
But going, looking at it, like Daniel Jones actually isn't really far off from where those guys was through 50 starts. So what the hell are we looking for as fans? What are we looking for? Why do we continue to blame Daniel Jones for the New York Giants lack of offense? Right? No, I don't blame Daniel Jones. I blame that old regime who came in and done what they did with our bank account and put money in places where it shouldn't have been put, and now we came and used the damn money. So I wouldn't, he's a part of that old regime, but I think Daniel Jones actually has a really really big time bright spot for him. And if we just give him time to watch him grow, and that's it. I mean, he's on last year's contract. I mean, what do we want as Giant fans, Rich?
I don't know. I can't answer that. They want Patrick Mahomes mixed in with Lamar Jackson and a vintage Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. And that doesn't exist. That's like your superhuman. That's like your fantasy world quarterback. You brought this up. I went back. I always go back and rewatch the shows and take notes. You brought this up a couple weeks ago. Their offense is what it is. Okay. So the flashiness, and when you played and, Gilbride, throw it down the field, look who the backs were, look the offensive line, and look who the wide receivers are. So when you say it and fans are like, oh, well, Brandon said it, B said it, 27 said this guy won a couple of, he gets it. Yeah. You get it because you played it. You've been part of it. What they're not understanding is they don't have those guys. Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs, D. Ward, Plaxico, Hakeem, Mario, Victor Cruz, they're not walking through that door. That offensive line is not walking through that door. So you have to make do with the hand you've been dealt. And I try to drive this home, this point, and my God, they're jackasses. They don't friggin' understand. They don't get it. I don't care who you stick back there. If it's Brady, Rodgers, I'm sorry, man. they're going to be on their ass and on their back, just like he's been this season.
Even more.
Because they can't run.
Yeah, I agree.
They can't scramble. I said before the season started with you, give me 33. I think I said 3,300 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 or 7 picks, and then add another 400 yards rushing. He's over 3,000 total yards, 20 touchdowns, and he's cut down on his fumbles and he's cut down on his interceptions. And then when you criticize the receivers for drops, all the shit and crap I hear is they're not catchable balls. That's BS. A couple years ago, he lays it out for Ingram, can't make the catch. A couple years ago, he lays it out for Slayton. 2 weeks ago, he lays it out for Slayton, can't make the catch. Like, come on, man. They're just people that don't like this kid for whatever reason, because they're either fantasy guys, they're stat guys, they're maybe the hardcore bettors that are losing on the friggin' Giants. Hey, shame on you for not knowing what the hell you're doing, right? If you don't have it, don't spend it. Or they just want those quarterbacks that don't exist. They don't exist. There's 3 or 4 in the league. 3 or 4 in the league, right? Let me give you some names right now. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Hurts. Is Daniel Jones ever going to be those quarterbacks?
You give Daniel Jones a downfield threat, a prolific wide receiver, I think he can be. I'm being honest. I think
and an offensive line.
I think the kid has what it takes to be great. I honestly believe that. A little bit inconsistent at times. Don't know whether he's going to come in at times, but when he's coming, he's in there.
What
you know what I'm saying? So,
what about the line, B? What about the offensive line? Like, explain this to me. Why is it so hard to get a consistent offensive line in the NFL? Look what the Eagles are doing. When you played, you had that line intact for 5-6 years, right?
Toughness, man. There's a lot. It got a lot to do with toughness, man. A lot of these guys, like these days, were born when the iPad was out, so they're a little soft. I'm not just some of the Giants. I'm talking about all over the league. The league is soft in general. Just what it is. I mean, it's not as physical. You can't be as physical. They whine and cry, bitch and moan about everything, and being able to line up as an offensive lineman and play hardcore football, coming down here, running the football, protecting your quarterback throughout a game consistently. I mean, you might not find that. I mean, if you look at it, a lot of these quarterbacks are flushed out the pocket. I mean, Jalen Hurts is flushed out the pocket a bunch. Yeah. Josh Allen is flushed out the pocket a bunch.
Yeah.
These guys aren't just standing back there baking cakes. So people can point the finger at the offensive line all day long. I mean, to me, at the end of the day, I just think it's just not much toughness left in the NFL.
Yeah, and then okay, so to go to your point, you couple that with not having a good offensive line to keep the quarterback upright. Like, I remember there were games when you guys would come out on the field, and that's really before you started slinging it down the field, and everything was set up by the run. But if you get tackled for a loss on first down, right? Or if it's Derek or whomever, or the wide receiver drops it on a 2nd and 13 now. Now you're looking at 3rd and long. You're already behind the 8 ball. So when I watch this offense, it's very predictable because they don't have the threats that we were talking about. Like, it's almost like hand it off to Saquon, hope he breaks one.
Right.
And you can't win. Or now we're in 3rd and long, and let's just try to, sling it down the field and hope Slayton makes a play, or Robinson would make a play, or Shepard would make a play, or the tight end makes a play. It's not, I just think their philosophy, they know they don't have the horses. That's why they need to make it an ugly game. And that's why they don't want to give up possessions and have their quarterback take unwarranted risk. So I don't know if it's lack of confidence. You don't want the risk. I mean, the one year Eli threw 35 touchdowns, but threw 30 interceptions, 25 interceptions. But I remember, Coughlin was saying, Coach Coughlin was saying, the turnovers kill them, but yet you also have to be able to throw the ball down the field.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you can't throw the ball down the field, and you got to settle for a lot of short like pitches and like quick slants and stuff like that. I mean, that's just shit that still could get you third down 1 or 2.
yeah,
When you throw the ball, I mean, I expect you to at least get us, first downs. We had to be able to run the ball to be able to get the ball downfield. That's what we had to do. So the run set up the pass.
right. And what the Giants have been doing the last couple of years is pass to set up the run. And it actually makes no sense the way they would running guys wide.
You know what, Rich? It does make sense because through the years of the football, it's just been devaluing the running back. That's why it's pass first, pass second, and maybe we're gonna run third.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just what it's been. So they're not the only ones doing it. I mean, everybody does it. Everybody come out shit and throw the ball 3 straight times. If they don't get nothing, they punt it away. You should never come out with 3 downs and not run the ball 1 time in a football game. Like,
yeah,
I see it all the time. That's just more devaluing the running back. Everybody asks me why I won't let my son play running back. Shit, that's why.
But does it also go into play calling too and scheme?
I mean, yeah, the scheme is to pass the ball.
No, I meant
that's what it is. The plan is to pass the ball.
Right, but I'm saying if my line is weak and I don't have confidence in pass protection or run blocking, like even Dallas's line is showing some cracks, right? But you watch the Eagles, look what their line did against the Giants tackles the other day. I mean, they won the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, I think people just want what Kansas City can do, what Buffalo can do, what the Eagles can do. And it doesn't grow on trees is my point. Like sometimes you have to win ugly. It's not going to be aesthetically pleasing. And you're right, in a league where even the Detroit Lions are scoring 29, 30 points, it is perplexing at times to wonder why this offense can't get it going. But then if you really take a step back and you look at the personnel group, it's, I don't know, man.
Me either, Rich. And you know what? We'll never know. It's going to be year in, year out where we're sitting there trying to fucking figure out what's the problem with the goddamn Giants and why they can't score points. Yeah. We've been sitting there for years trying to figure out why we can't get back to where we used to be. Right? We're going to continue to sit here and try to figure that out. That's just what it is, man. But you just, as a fan, you just got to keep plugging away and keep believing that your team is going to do what they got to do to get where they got to get. So you can
I used to have this debate and argument, and I was and I am a staunch Eli defender. And I don't hide it. I go to 2011 and say, you can make a case. Eli was the MVP of the league. Everyone was always talking about the defense carried this team. I'm talking to a guy that lived through it. So, what 10 was capable of doing. I think they thought they can get more years out of that offensive line. Even after he left, came back, and then eventually retired. Like you started to see it really was, you bring in a Peyton Hillis, right? You're bringing in guys that are just off the street, and you're starting off 1-4, 0-5, 0-6, and you're trying to get the last ounce of Eli because he had that great game against the Eagles where he threw 4 or 5 touchdowns. They beat him 42-7. The guy on film can still play, but they never really fixed the line. And what happens? You don't fix the line. The quarterback sees the ghost. You're eating plays. When Daniel Jones, this is the one thing I'll say that I really like about Daniel Jones. When I see the pocket collapse, and I'm being fair here and honest, I think of Eli sometimes hits the ground. Save yourself for another day. Daniel Jones slides. He takes off. And that's a great.
That's ability. Like that's what you need in quarterbacks nowadays. You guys better move around in the pocket, buy themselves time. You can't block forever.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. I mean, a lot of times with Eli we have great wide receivers too, and Eli threw a beautiful ball. So Eli knew route combinations, who's going well, predicated on what coverage. It had a lot to do with Eli's success. Eli he wasn't a guy that was going to buy time in the pocket and run around and run read option and all that shit, RPO, all that shit. He wasn't going to do that, right? He knew with his brain, it gave him an advantage, a physical advantage on delivering the ball because he knew where the ball was going, predicated off the routes that they were running versus the coverage that they were playing. So Eli was smart as shit when it came to stuff like that. So that's a lot of time, like that's what made it great.
Yeah. And that's rare. You don't find that in every single solitary quarterback. You just don't. So speaking of quarterbacks, so I'll tell you this real quick. So I know you're a Micah Parsons fan. I'm a Parsons fan as well. He went on Von Miller's podcast, and yesterday we were talking about Jalen Hurts, and I have no problem sticking Jalen Hurts in the MVP race. And yesterday you brought up scheme system, right? We were talking a little bit about that. So on the Voncast with Von Miller, Parsons asked, when you look at the Eagles, is it Hurts or the team? And Miller responded, I think it's a little bit of both, man. Parsons said, it's system and team. So is that just competitiveness to rival, or is that kind of taking a shot at Jalen Hurts saying it's really not the player and what you've accomplished this year, it's the system that you're in?
I disagree with that because at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts does make plays on his feet, right? He has to throw the ball. He shows accuracy, strength in his passes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little off as far as reading coverages are concerned, because I see a lot of time when he buy time, he waits for the wide receiver to look and give him his eyes before he throw the ball. Makes sense, right? So I give Jalen all the credit in the world for being a great quarterback. I disagree when I think you say he's a system quarterback. So you're telling me that you can put anybody back there and that's what will happen? Is that what he's saying? Like you can take any swinging dick and put them back there and they can deliver the same passes and have the same completion percentage and the same amount of rushing yards, rushes that Jalen Hurts have. Is that what Michael Parsons is saying?
That's how I interpret it. I mean, isn't that the definition of a system system quarterback, right? Plug and play.
I think Michael Parsons is the best defensive football player in the National Football League now, but that's bullshit. That's pure bullshit on that opinion as far as Jalen Hurts. The guy's a great quarterback. He's played for some good college coaches. He's a good quarterback, man. I don't think it's a system at all. I don't think you can put let's see, I even go by and said Herbert. I don't think you can put him in that offense and it'll be the same.
How is that sustainable though? Having quarterbacks that want to run first as opposed to the pocket passer, like Lamar Jackson, right? I'm trying to, Josh Allen scrambles a lot, right? Daniel Jones takes off. We saw with Vic, we saw with Cunningham. Like, pardon me, your first instincts is to run. Is that sustainable in the NFL?
Yeah, it's sustainable. Yes, sustainable. I'm gonna take you back to Michael Vick in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Michael Vick wasn't a great quarterback in Atlanta. If you ask me. He ran the ball. He was really electrifying to watch. He threw good balls, right? But a little bit slippery when it came down to coverages and putting the ball in danger. Still great, electrifying to watch. I picked that guy to watch every day over any other quarterback. Just sitting and watching. It was exciting, right? Has a little dogfighting, scandal, goes to jail for a couple of years, he get out and goes to Philly.
Yeah.
Michael Vick was a much better quarterback in Philly than he was in Atlanta because he still had the electrifying ability to run and make plays on his feet, and he had a better arm and understood coverages much better than he did when he first came in the league with Atlanta. So I think it is, I think if the NFL had a guy, if there's quarterbacks that can run but also be just as effective throwing the ball in completions, I think that's more about what the league is looking for, a guy that can make plays on his feet, but that guy who don't ever really have to run if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's definitely sustainable. No question.
Yeah. And that was 2010 with the Eagles and Chip Kelly in the offense. He had the big game with Deshaun Jackson on Monday Night Football against Washington. And you're right. It's almost as though it clicked for him second time around, and he turned out to be a very good quarterback for a couple of years, as opposed to just relying on his natural God-given ability. But then you look at guys like Lamar Jackson, who are scrambling all over the place, and they're taking a lot of hits. Josh Allen scrambling all over the place, taking a lot of hits. Tua, he's a running quarterback. He scrambles. I guess I think it's hard to have a long career, but I know what you're saying. That's where we're at in the NFL. The days of the pure pocket passer. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers would slide a little bit to his left, a little bit to his right, just to create a little bit of, Brady quick release. No, that's good stuff. All right. So midway through 27 and Q, the big man, Brandon Jacobs, 2-time Super Bowl champ with the New York Football Giants. He's got a snow hat on. You got snow outside? You got snow outside? Or we're just going with the fashion statement with the hat?
No. Just
I like
fashion
it.
statement. You want to know what the real reason is I'm wearing it, Rich?
Cold in the house?
No, it's not cold in the house. I didn't shave.
Oh, you didn't shave the head?
I look like one of those old men that they got the cul-de-sac right here in the middle of the head, and I got.
Oh man, you got to peel the curtain back.
No,
peel the curtain back.
Huh?
You got to peel the curtain back. Let's get a look-see under the hood.
I'm good. I mean, you won't really be able to tell.
Come on, man. Look at that. That's a gorgeous shine.
Yeah, man, look at that, man. No.
Nah, you're good. Model S, you should be doing an Old Spice commercial. Oh, wait. By the way, I love the Law and Order shows. I'm a big Law and Order SVU. But for some reason, I was watching another Law and Order. It was like
Criminal Intent.
Yeah. It was like 1:00 in the morning. I'm half asleep and I'm flipping. I was like, all right, let me check this out. And there's this bar scene, and the two detectives try to walk through the bar. And there's this big bouncer. I don't even know what this cat says. And then all of a sudden, they're like, we're detectives. And all of a sudden, the guy goes, oh, right this way.
Told them no, they couldn't get in. Like, yo, stop right here. We're detectives.
Should have won an Emmy. That should have won an Emmy.
Oh, it should have won an Emmy because it hadn't had anybody in the show that's as good looking as I am.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. Who am I to argue that?
It's no argument. It's not even close. It's not a debate. Nobody in that show was better looking than me.
How many takes was that? One take, Jake. All right.
One take, Jake. My part was good, but we actually had to do it 2 or 3 times because the detectives didn't know who was talking first. And when they figured out who was talking first, they were saying the wrong fucking line. And then it was like 6 of them, I think. But I was always on point.
Hey, I hear you, man. When I do my openings for boxing, man, my code opening, they say one take, Jake, in and out. Short, sweet.
One take, Jake, baby.
That's what we do. All right, Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Let me give you some of these names. And there's a lot of names now. The 28 semifinalists for the class of 2023. You just yay or nay and kind of give me your thoughts on this. London Fletcher.
Yay.
He started 240 games. Is it the Hall of Very Good or the Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame.
Solid all around player. All right. So you say you say in. All right.
Yeah, I say in.
Okay. Ricky Waters.
I gotta separate personal from real. Okay.
Wait, I thought you were a fan of Ricky Waters.
I am. That's why I say I gotta separate personal feelings and fandom from real. Give me his numbers.
5 Pro Bowl nods, helped the 49ers to Super Bowl. I know he was well over 10, 11,000 yards, played with multiple teams. Here's the problem. Who are the other backs that he played with in that era, right?
Oh, shit. Bam Morris, Natron Means.
Think about 3 that are already in the Hall of Fame.
Charlie Gardner.
Emmett. Thurman Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
Barry Sanders. Does that help the cause or hurt the cause?
That helps the cause. Absolutely. I say yes, put him in.
Hines Ward.
Put him in.
Hines Ward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
How many do they take every year?
Well, the one year I think they only had 2 or 3 players. I think 5. I'd have to double check.
Okay, so what, I'm at 3, 4 right now? 3?
Well, it again, remember, it doesn't have to be first time around. I just want to get your initial, just a gloss over.
Mhm.
All right, so you say Ward. I think Ward is great player, number retired, Pittsburgh Hall of Fame. Okay, fine. I don't know if I go Hall. Fred Taylor. He
Who?
had Fred
Fred
Taylor.
Taylor? I say yes for Fred. I say yes for Fred. He put up the numbers. He was on the Pittsburgh team. Didn't really do much winning. He did what he did with what he had. So I'm definitely throwing him in. There's no question.
7 seasons, over 1,000 yards rushing, over 11,000 rushing yards for his career. Played with guys like, around the Eddie George, Chris Johnson type here. Anquan Bolden.
No.
Rondé Barber. You know why it's going to be tough? Again, look at the cornerbacks of his era. Champ Bailey, Charles Woodson,
Ty Law.
Deion Sanders,
Mm-hmm.
Darrell Green. I mean, the end of his career. Aeneas Williams, Rod Woodson. So what do you think? Yay or nay? You're not going to upset Tiki by your answer. Yeah, you're nay.
No, I mean, because I think, he was a guy you had to plan for too.
Yeah.
You had to purposely not throw the ball that way. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I don't know, man. I think he fit the bill, man. I do. I really do.
Going a little more old school now, Henry Ellard, who's probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in NFL history. All-Pro, 2-time All-Pro, 14,000 receiving yards. But he played for the Rams teams that were always overshadowed by the 49er teams in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, I don't say we say 2-time Pro Bowler?
Two-time All-Pro, 14,000 receiving yards.
Nah.
Okay. Then we got a couple cornerbacks here. Albert Lewis, that played in the early 80s, Kansas City, the Raiders. Eric Allen played for the Eagles, those great defenses in the late 80s, early 90s, never won a playoff game under Buddy Ryan. And then Rodney Harrison.
Eric Allen, yes. Everybody else, no.
You don't put Rodney in the Hall of Fame.
Rodney Harrison for the New England Patriots we talking about?
San Diego and the Patriots.
San Diego and the Patriots. So I'll go back. I retract that. So, yeah, I put him in. I just don't know if you make it this time around.
Two-time first-team All-Pro. Won a pair of Super Bowls with the Pats. He probably makes a very strong case. Hard hitter. I think people just didn't like his style of play.
I love Rodney Harrison. He wasn't a hard hitter, though.
Smart and instinctive player. So you say?
I say, yeah.
Okay.
I say put him in.
All right. Robert Mathis.
Ooh. Robert Mathis. You asked me, the guy who created the edge position. He created the edge position. Robert Mathis, Alabama A&M. Him and Dwight Freeney.
That's right.
Oh, shit. I don't know, man. I don't know about that one.
All right. Then you have a couple.
I want to say yes, but I don't know if he's done enough.
you got a couple of guards, Jahari Evans, longtime, first team All Pro, got a ring. Vince Wilfork, defensive tackle with the Patriots, and Willie Anderson, a tackle with Cincinnati.
Willie, no doubt. Willie Anderson, no doubt about it. Actually, that's my son's trainer.
Willie Anderson?
Uh-huh. He is. And he trains with Willie all the time.
Do you look at the fact he only had one winning season?
No, I don't.
Okay. I mean, if they stick Joe Thomas in, I guess you'd have to make it.
Yeah, he was in Cleveland. He was in Cleveland getting his face beat in for how many years? 10 years?
10, 11, 12 years.
Mm-hmm. So.
Man, then it gets very obscure. Zach Thomas. I don't put him up with Derek Brooks or Urlacher or Ray Lewis. I just don't. Nice player, longevity, tackling machine. You think Zach Thomas is a Hall of Famer?
Listen, man, I don't think Urlacher is one for real.
You don't think Brian Urlacher is a Hall of Famer? Wow.
No. And for the record, everybody, I know I'm not one. So don't say, well, you're not one either. I know that. Just giving you my opinion. I don't think Brian Urlacher is a Hall of Famer.
That's why we're having the discussion. I think he is, man. Forced fumbles, sacks, played the linebacker position a little more high, drop back in coverage, had a lot of seasons over 100 tackles, face of that franchise. That position in Chicago, right?
So you don't put Derek Thomas in, but what's your reasoning? You don't put Derek Thomas over him. Why?
No. Derek Thomas is a Hall of Famer.
What did you wait? Who did you say?
No,
you don't put him under the lights of who?
No, I said he played with in the era of the Derek Brooks, who I think is a Hall of Famer.
Derek Brooks. Yeah, not Derek Thomas.
Oh, Derek Brooks is a Hall of Famer.
No question.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go back to say how did we get to Brian Urlacher and those guys?
Oh, because I'm talking about the contemporaries that Zach Thomas played with. Urlacher, Ray Lewis.
Oh, Zach
Derek
Thomas.
Brooks.
Zach Thomas. Oh, no, he's not.
Yeah. Who do you think I said?
I thought you said Derek Thomas. I'm like,
no. Are you kidding?
He's a Hall of Famer.
Man, unbelievable player. I loved him growing up, man. He was a beast. Jared Allen, defensive end. Jared Allen, defensive end.
Ooh.
Kansas City, Minnesota.
Yeah, I think he's one. There's no question. I think so.
All right, now we got some wide receivers. Not a lot of backs here. Andre Johnson and Torrey Holt.
Torrey Holt.
And you got a backlog of wide receivers.
You're always going to have that. You're always going to have a backlog of them because it's, especially going forward, next 20 years, it's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Torrey Holt, yes.
These guys, to me, are the Hall of Very Good. I don't think of...
What's the difference? I don't want you to give me your difference. Like, what's the difference?
Give
me very good and give me Hall.
Yeah. Hall of Fame. Marvin Harrison is a Hall of Famer. Torrey Holt, no disrespect to him. He was a very good wide receiver, but I don't look at the way he played the position like a Marvin Harrison. He might have been more explosive, but Harrison was steady Eddie, great route runner, great hands, big numbers.
What about compare the numbers?
I'd have to pull him up. Same with like Isaac Bruce.
I got Torrey Holt. I'm gonna look up his because
I always thought Marvin Harrison was just all right, Marvin Harrison. Over 1,000 receptions, 14,000 yards, 128 TDs. Always was out there. Obviously, he had one bad year where he got hurt. He had over 100 receptions in a season, 1, 2, 3, 4, including 143 for 1,700 yards. His yards per catch which I always look at, for his career, 13.2. 128.
Wait, what was his total yardage?
His total yards for his career,
Mm-hmm.
14,580 yards.
And how many receptions?
1,102.
Okay, so Torrey Holt is at 920 receptions with 13,382 yards with 74 touchdowns at a 14.5 yards average per catch.
Yeah. Harrison blows and winning touchdowns. If you want to say it's a product of Peyton Manning, so be it. How many years did Torrey Holt have, say, 110 or more receptions?
Six.
More than 110 receptions?
No, I'm sorry. Just, wow, that's a six. I don't know where I get that number from. He had two. He had 2 years with one he had 117 and another one he had 102. Yeah. But everything else was 52, is 82, 81, 91, 94, 93, 93, 64, 51. Like that.
I mean,
and he had 103 when he was in Jacksonville in 2000.
Jacksonville, yeah.
Yeah, so it was 3 seasons. It was 3 seasons where he had that.
I don't know, man. I mean, a lot of it's subject. Like Steve Smith is on this list for Carolina.
What do you say about him? You still put him in? You're going off of numbers. Torrey Holt ain't got enough to get in.
So Steve Smith, to me, I think I can appreciate him because of his willingness to go across the middle and his size.
Oh, he was tough as nails, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he put up some big numbers too, man. Don't get me wrong. I just like the way he played. Like he probably had close to 14,000 yards, well over 1,000 yards receiving.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very reliable guy, man. And I think there's something to be said about the size and the willingness to go over the middle. Talking about a guy that was probably 5'9", $185, $190.
Yeah, I mean, he was tough, man. I mean, you can't take that away from him, man.
No, not at all.
So he had 219 receptions for 10,000 yards. I mean, I'm sorry, 14,000 yards he had with 81 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had a really good career.
And I mean, I'm sorry, he got 1,031 receptions.
Yeah. You're right. It's very wide receiver heavy. Patrick Willis is on the list, linebacker.
Oh, yes, put him in.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Put him in.
100 tackles every year. First team All-Pro 5 times in 8 NFL seasons.
Yep.
How about Darrelle Revis? Easy in, shut down, lockdown corner. We talked Joe Thomas. Here's one for you. Here's the last one on the list. Devin Hester.
Return specialist. Played a little wide receiver as well. People were scared of Devin, man.
That's what I was going to say. Like Tony Dungy.
Yep. I remember Coach Coughlin yelling, "Don't kick it to him, God damn it!"
I think he ran one back against you guys.
Yes, he did. I mean, he was dangerous, man. I say I say you put him in, especially if you're looking at the return specialist that he was. I say you put him in. Now, they're not taking anything about 5. I said about 12 didn't go in, but maybe time will tell, man.
I pulled up. So for yardage, for running backs, Sanders, Smith, Jim Brown, Eric Dickerson, Walter Payton, LaDainian, Adrian Peterson, OJ, Marshall Faulk, Marcus Allen, Earl Campbell, Tony
What do you
Dorsett.
wait, what are you doing?
So these are all time. These are yardage leaders, right?
Well, you should say
NFL.
Frank Gore because Frank Gore's like third.
I don't think it's in
Frank Gore
order.
is definitely third.
Hold on.
Second or third, actually.
He is third. You're 100% correct. I'm sorry. I pulled it up. I didn't go in the order I should have. I apologize. Okay. Good catch. Emmett Smith, Walter Payton, Frank Gore, Barry Sanders, AP, Curtis Martin, LaDainian Tomlinson, Bettis, Dickerson, Dorsett, Brown, Falk, all Hall of Famers. Still waiting on Frank Gore. And then you have Edgar and James. So if you stick him in, then you're going to have to stick Fred Taylor in.
Said both of them can go on.
How about LaShawn McCoy?
Oh, crazy word.
11,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it. Did it year in, year out.
You're a very easy. It's almost like you just let him roller skate in, man.
Because if you look at it, LaShawn McCoy was always at the top of the league when it came to rushing yards every year. From the first year he started to when he was done, when he got toward the end of his career, he was always there at the end of the race, you know, taking second or third in the league in rushing every single year he played, except for when he got toward the end of his career. I mean, 11,000 rushing yards. He's two-time Super Bowl champion. Now on the teams, he barely did anything. But I say he got the numbers to back it up, man. I say, why not?
You know, Tiki Barber has more rushing yards than Eddie George.
Yeah. Tiki has what 10,000, 11,000, something like that.
By 8, 10,449, 10,441.
Yeah.
And he also has a bunch of receiving yards too. And he's got, like, I don't get this, man. Like, I look at his career and I can make a case he's a Hall of Famer. 5,000 receiving, 10,000 rushing, and he went out 1,600 yards that year. So now you're talking almost 16,000 all-purpose yards. And he also was a punt returner in his career. And I think he ran back a couple kickoffs here and there. I don't know. To me, I guess my point is you probably can find pros and cons. You can probably make a list for a lot of these guys, why, and then why they shouldn't. Like, I think, say Eli, people will look at Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, and then Eli Manning. And again, I maintain
not even close. Either one of those. Not even
what?
Close.
But
not even is Eli than everybody else.
But you know that if one gets in, all three are going to get in.
Absolutely. Is that right? No, but that's you ask me. That's just discrediting the one that got in. It's a entitlement is what it is. That's what you call it. Everybody get a trophy is what you call it. No, doesn't go like that.
So these quarterbacks right now: Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Hurts, Herbert. Who do you think right now, if you say, okay, look at their career, the trajectory, if it keeps trending?
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow over all of them. Know why? He didn't win a Super Bowl, but he played in one.
But what about Mahomes?
Mahomes won a Super Bowl and played in two, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I got to throw Mahomes in there.
No matter what, you think they'll be Hall of Fame quarterbacks?
Yeah, absolutely. They get the numbers. They're definitely going to be it. They're big names. They're definitely big names now. And people love them, you know. And I think, yeah. I mean, look at what Cincinnati's doing now, you know, compared to how they started.
I just had this conversation earlier today. What do you think of Donovan McNabb?
Do I think he's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, or Hall of Very Good.
I say very, very good, man. I say very, very good, but wouldn't be shocked if he got it.
Yeah, I'm looking at his numbers. I love how when it works in someone's favor, they always bring up the starting quarterback's record.
That's just like talking about Michael Jordan and range being better than LeBron James. Now, I'm a Jordan guy, and I think Jordan is the man. However, it's not because he has 6 rings and LeBron has 4. Like, it's not that. I just like the overall player Jordan was. I like the overall player that LeBron is. I just think I was a Bulls fan then, so I don't think I could ever put anybody over Mike regardless of numbers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everybody always say, well, Jordan has 6 rings. Well, if that's the case, I should be better than Barry Sanders. I should be better than all the rest of those guys out there because I have 2 rings. And
yeah. And you can make an argument if he didn't retire, they probably would have won 8 championships in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just can't go off the ring theory to say, like people say, like there's legit reasons why Michael Jordan is to go.
Yeah. Well, that's when people make the argument, oh, Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback to not win a ship. He's still arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks. Like, not having a ring does not define, his career.
They were talking about greatest teams. Who do you think the greatest team were in the NBA? Who do you think the NBA's greatest team ever was? Who?
It depends on.
Now,
are we talking?
Let's go team. Now, with championships, when you picking a team matters, but an individual, no.
So, you can talk about any of those 90s Bulls, 98, whatever. Talk about the 84 Celtics, 88, 89 Lakers, or 89, 90 Detroit Pistons. You can talk 72, 73 Knicks, the 60s Celtics, Golden State a couple years ago that won 73 games.
73-9 without a championship.
Well, they were up 3-1 in that series. And LeBron, that only adds to his legacy, by the way. I don't know. It's subjective to me. It's bar talk. Like I can go old school and start naming teams in the 60s and 70s that were great.
And I'm gonna sit up and look at you like this. Like, who you talking?
So who?
I'm going with the 72-10 Bulls only because they finished the season with a championship.
Wait, what year?
The 72-10 Bulls.
Oh, the 72-10 Bulls. Oh, I thought you said 1972 Bulls. Yeah. Well, yeah. Who'd they beat that year? Seattle? Was that the Gary Payton squad? Utah. 97, 98?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the back-to-back, when Jordan pushed off.
Yep. He didn't push off, man. He barely touched it, man. And you saw his fingers. It was he barely touched it.
I couldn't stand those teams, man. They made my life being a Knicks fan. They made, man, I still to this day.
Oh, that's why you said to push off. Oh, I got you. I understand now.
To this day, like if 20 years ago I ever ran into Charles Smith, I'd probably get on a ladder and try to punch him. Like,
he'll hit your ass back though. Better be ready. He gonna hit your ass right back.
I'm elusive, man. I get that guard up. Just dunk the ball, man. Just dunk it. Like, those teams tortured my Knicks. And the year he decides, all right, let me take the hiatus. They get to the finals, and they were lucky to beat the Bulls in 7. That's the game where Scottie Pippen refused to come off the bench.
Yeah, that was piss poor. You know what I don't get with that? I watch The Last Dance like all the time because the Bulls my favorite team.
Yeah.
But Scottie Pippen made a comment on that saying, there's one of them things you wish you can go back, and change it,
Yeah.
But if I had a chance to do it again, I'd probably do the same thing. Like, what the fuck sense that for you to say that?
Yeah.
To only end in saying that. Like, you contradicted yourself completely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, he's definitely passive aggressive, man. And remember too, they were thinking about trading him to Seattle for Sean Kemp.
Glad they didn't do that because Sean Kemp was nowhere near like Pippen. He was going to give you a little bit on the glass, a little bit more on the glass, maybe, but He was in like Pippen was a guard for real.
Yeah, Pippen was a great player, but those Bulls teams, man, they just torture, man. Those are some great rivalries, man. You throw in Indiana, you throw in the Miami Heat. That was good NBA, man. That was good NBA. So
yeah, man, it was great. I miss those days at NBA of the 81 to 78 games.
no, you're not getting that anymore.
Yeah, right. Shit, right now it's 160 to damn. It's going a whole bunch of points out there. Right
133 to 130 the other night, one of those games.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what's going on in the boxing world, man?
Well, I mean, we got a couple minutes before we cut out. Nothing. Shakur's trying to get a fight. We talked a little bit about the Lopez. I don't know. We might have to do maybe another little short version this week. Get into it a little more. Other than that, you got a couple fights coming up.
Adrian Broner is calling out our Regis.
I saw that.
40, yeah. But he's fighting at 40 though, right?
Yep.
Was Adrian gonna make that weight? You
think? He should.
You think he can make 40?
I do. Like I said, I pulled up the schedule real quick. Got to kind of wait till the turn of the first of the year, man. Tank's fighting January 7th against Garcia. And then that's it. You got some January stuff coming up. Garcia fights in January, late January against Gesta. That's Ryan Garcia. Navarrete fights Liam Wilson. That's in February. And then we'll see what's going on with 135, 140, 145. We might actually, and it's because we're about to kick out, we might have to squeeze in a 15-minute later in the week. I want to get into this. Did you hear about Crawford and his gloves?
Yeah, I heard about it, but I'm not sure what's the problem. They said they were tampered with.
That's what they're saying. We might have to.
Let's find out. You're going to have to get the gloves out and get them examined and see what's what. I mean, you're going to have to go through it.
See if they're like Antonio Margarito. See if they're loaded.
Yeah. Well, I thought Antonio Margarito had it in his hand wraps instead of his gloves.
Yeah, he did. The plaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a good look. So, man, I'll tell you what, it flew by tonight. All right, got about a minute. Prediction: Giants, Washington, Sunday night.
Tie again.
Say what you have to say before we get out of here.
A tie. I'm going to go with that.
All right. I'm going to say 21-17 Giants. They get a pick late.
They get a pick late to seal it?
Yep. They get a pick late. Julian Love, a little redemption.
I say 24-21 and they recover a fumble to win. All
right. Say what you got to say, big man, before we get out of here.
Hey. Enjoy the rest of the week, folks. Happy holidays to everyone. I'm not going to go all in. Remember, be nice to thy neighbor. Good humanities. Please. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Yes, sir, no, sir. And like I said again, please and fucking thank you.
20
you guys enjoy.
Right there. 2-time Super Bowl champ with the New York Football Giants, Brandon Jacobs. Everyone have a good sports week. Thanks for tuning in to 27 and Q. Big man, we will do it again soon.
Yes, sir.